It's Tuesday at noon, and it means it's time for Dreamcasters. Hi, Bill Cinque.
Hello, Devon O'Day. How are you?
You know, I'm better now because I'm looking at you. Are you doing good?
I'm doing okay. I have my trusty sidekick, Trouble the cat. If you see her walking back and forth, she's working on a 3-picture deal. She's getting so famous on the show.
I love that. I love that. Hey, what's Trouble's story? Where did you find Trouble?
You know, Trouble was here before I got here.
Oh, okay.
My lovely girlfriend, Shanley, and her daughter, Hannah, who, by the way, Hannah just is in the process of releasing some music. I'll give her a little shout out. Hannah Curran, Curran. She's wonderful. They had the cat before I was here. And part of the deal was if you want to be part of this family, the cat comes with it. So Trouble is now my friend who sleeps on my head most nights and comes out here and watches over me while I'm doing the show. She's been in a couple of the shows, if you remember.
I remember. I remember Trouble. I love that. Well, you know what? Everybody needs the studio cat.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody needs the studio cat. We've had Nashville cats for many, many years, and a different kind of cat, but still a cat.
And are you familiar with the song Nashville Cats?
I am.
By Love and Spoonful. And that's the band I'm in now. I'm proudly a member of the Love and Spoonful as of just a couple of months ago.
Isn't that crazy how those kind of things happen? Now, have you had to learn that song?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, yes. And many other songs. I love that music. And this kind of probably ushers into our thinking of today's topic of not only having a dream, but how do you expand on the dream? How do you add colors to it? How do you add different dimensions? It might even be different dreams, so to speak, and how they fuse together and how they sometimes, what would you call it? Refraction, right? Like the light through the diamond.
I use the diamond reference a lot because I always say a diamond without parts of it chunked off.
Yeah.
It's just a rock that you would walk over.
Right.
You wouldn't even notice. And a diamond with one facet has no shine, no shimmer. Yeah. But when you start taking that diamond and the master cuts off and cuts off and cuts off and cuts, it gets rid of the dead weight, but also accentuates all the different things that are that diamond. That's when you see color, cut, clarity. All of those things are part of what makes a diamond beautiful. And it's what makes us beautiful when it comes to what we have. I mean, we are not one-trick ponies. None of us are one-trick ponies.
No, I think we're all a bit of a prism. You know, you don't see the different lights till you shine it through the prism. And the idea of the one-trick pony is sometimes, I'm going to say most of the time, self-imposed, right? I'm a plumber. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Why are you a plumber? Well, because my dad was a plumber and his dad was a plumber. So I'm in the family business. I'm going to be a plumber. Well, you're not just a plumber. You know, you're also a dad. You're a brother. You're all kinds of stuff, you know. And the idea of the one-trick pony is, I guess, the flip side of what we're talking about, right? There's the one-trick pony on one side. On the other side is the prism that gives you every color of the rainbow. So we're going to work on the rainbow part of it as opposed to the one-trick pony part today. That's our focus.
There's a phrase that is in a lot of people's brain for many years. Jack of all trades, master of none. That phrase alone, said by the right authoritative figure, can stop you from pursuing anything outside your one straight and narrow, as if you aren't committed to one thing only, that somehow you will be unsuccessful. And that's not true. That is so not true. Leonardo da Vinci would not have given us half of the things he gave us without expanding and becoming the diamond that he was supposed to be, because anatomy, aeronautics, sculpting, painting, he was all of those things. And we are all of those things too. But we, like you said, either self-imposed or we let those words of somebody else stay in our brain and keep us in this one trick, this one place. Master of none goes, oh my gosh, if I do more than one thing, I'm not a master.
Right. And that always leads to what I just generally call definitions, right?
Mhm.
Hypnosis practice, which we reference a lot on the show as well. Words are important. And I always go like this. I always say it's a concept in your head before the words come out of your mouth.
Right.
Who masters anything? Pick the greatest basketball player, pick the most successful businessman, the guy who jumps the highest, runs the farthest. Who is a master? A year later, the next season, somebody throws more touchdowns or somebody makes more money. So the idea of the master is, let's call it, we put that on the emotional treadmill, right? Okay.
Right.
Oh no, I got to go faster. Oh no, I have to do more. Someone's catching up on me. How
Yeah.
about being happy with what you're doing?
Oh my gosh. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Oh, good morning, Elizabeth. Good to have you here. You guys, if you want to join in with what we're doing and you're watching this live, all you have to do is leave a comment and it pops up. It pops up and we bring you on the show, and we love a lot of interaction. So you guys, if you have something to add, maybe you have realized sometimes it takes us till we hit that magic age of our 60s before we realize there's something we've always wanted to do. Therefore, I will now try it. I always say retiring doesn't mean retiring. Retiring means you might leave one thing and decide, hey, I'm going to try 5 other things I've never had the time to do, or the money to do, or the joy to do. There's and you guys might know, there's a motivational speaker slash channeler slash, it's a little hoogly boogly for me, but you can see you know, there you can see little clips of her voice, and I cannot think of her name, his name she channels, but uh she would say,
Abraham Hicks.
yes, see, I knew I could think it and you would get it. Abraham Hicks. Yeah. And I don't know what I believe about Abraham Hicks, but I love listening. So there you go. I
Yeah.
just love listening. And that whole thing about being happy, and say, how about this? What are you going to do? I'm going to be happy. Well, what would you do that? Because I want to be happy.
Yeah.
That has become a bad word in our society for some reason, just being happy. The guy who left his job to run a Smoothie King, and he really loved it. He was a high paid CEO of a company, stressed to the max, dying inside. Yeah. He left that, opened a Smoothie King, and his life changed, and he was happy.
Well, there's a great quote by John Lennon, and I don't know if I have it word for word, but he said when he was a child, a teacher said to him, he was in grade school, the teacher said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, I want to be happy. And the teacher said, you don't understand the question. And he said, no, you don't understand life. Now, that's a grade school kid. I mean, that's why John Lennon turned into John Lennon, because he was a deep thinker. He was he was looking at a bigger picture.
He got it.
Yeah. Well, when we have these conversations again, the reason you said one trick pony, and we talked about limiting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I bring this up often, but it bears repeating. I repeat myself on purpose a lot. Something called a comfort zone. That's not a positive. Being comfortable is positive. Having a comfort zone, that's when you need to get out of your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is, well, I'm complacent being here.
Mm-hmm.
That's not being content. That's very often is the sign of being a little lazy. You don't want to work a little harder. You don't want to put in more time. And people who, when you said retiring, I choose to use the word graduate, right?
See, I like that a lot better. I like that a lot better.
I put in 20 years at the shoe store, or working at Walmart, or being a bank president, whatever it is. Retiring, I'm retiring from that. I'm not retiring. There's another chapter here. Turn the page on this thing, because there's more to do. And I've known people that really, I met a guy in Nashville who was in the music business for a long time. He now is, I don't want to say this, I want to give him the credit that he deserves, but essentially like a professional is like Frisbee.
Mm-hmm.
He makes a living doing it. I didn't even know it existed.
I didn't know you could make a living doing Frisbee.
Yeah, and again, it's like disc throwing. There's another name for it. So forgive me for not knowing exactly what
Frisbee golf or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and he makes a living. He travels around the country and does it. And I said, "How do you like it?" He said, "I love it. Yes, there's a certain amount of whimsy to it. Obviously, it's not you're not shoveling cement and you're not a head of state, but and he loves it. And who would have known that you would have had that career after a career in music for 30 years? So when you talk about multifaceting and just when you get in the creative flow, there's no stopping.
Mm-hmm.
When you get in the creative flow, you think you're writing poetry and suddenly you're writing a script. You think you're writing haiku and suddenly it turns into a song.
Right. Well, Steve Earle, who I love his short stories. I mean, everybody loves Copperhead Road. Everybody loves Guitar Town. Everybody loves his music. But I will tell you that his prose writing is magnificent. It inspires me like nothing else. I mean, I bought not one, but 2 copies of Doghouse Roses because I had underlined so much and highlighted so much out of the first one because it inspired me. And, Herb Albert is an amazing sculptor and artist, aside from being a musician extraordinaire. And when we open up different facets of our diamonds, we live longer. It's a weird thing. I mean, and we live longer. That's the deal that I'm talking about. Elizabeth says, I feel blessed that my day job makes me happy, but I also love branching out, trying new things. Now, I'll tell you what, Elizabeth is part of a travel group that we've started. And Elizabeth said, hey, let me come up with some logos and stuff like that. Now, Elizabeth has this, I keep getting confused on left brain or right brain. She's very, very great with numbers and she's great with plans and she's very organized and she's like all that. But she's also got this amazing creative side. And so she came up with these beautiful logos that just like zeroed in on what we were doing. And it's like stuff that you go, I want that on a t-shirt. I want that on a hat. Yes. And so she's really good at that. She's also great at decorating, so she'll start and she'll take a room and she'll start and okay, here's what it looked like. And then she does it before and after. And it's just amazing.
I think there's a great value to kind of leveraging your talent. And when I say leveraging, what I mean is if you're building a staircase, you leverage the first step to get to the second step.
Right.
That's pretty obvious, right? If you keep just going back and forth, you're not really getting any place. The idea is to use the foundation to get to the second step and the third step. Now, how does that apply to what we're talking about? Well, when you realize that, an example I like to use just to keep it fun, because my sense of imagery always comes down to, color and fun. That's the stuff that sticks in your head, as opposed to numbers and, a dictionary definition. If I said you had a candy store, I'm pretty sure I have everybody's attention as soon as I say candy store. Right? There's not anybody here who can't wait to walk into a candy store. If I said you were taking inventory in your candy store, you have jelly beans. Okay, one way of expanding is to say, I want red jelly beans, yellow jelly beans, and green jelly beans. Another way of expanding is saying, I don't just want jelly beans, I want candy bars, I want lollipops, right? Mm-hmm. I think in business, they might call that staff and line. There are words for these, with people that have real jobs that know what they're talking about. But the idea is there's expansion. You can go vertically, you can go horizontally, and you can kind of split the difference. And when you're talking about creativity, speaking from my own life, I was writing poetry in 10th grade in a comp and lit class. Right? 20 years later, I found an old notebook, and you and I are both big fans of paper notebooks, right? I mean, yeah. I got one right here.
Yeah. Mine's right by me.
Yeah, 20 years later, literally 20 years later, I found it in an old box. I used those lyrics that I wrote when I was 16 years old and was the foundation for songs that I composed later on, which wound up on television. it made me a little bit of money, but that's not really the point of this conversation. The thing is, I started with a blank page. Not just metaphorically, physically a blank page. You don't lose those items, that they're in your brain. They're, in this case, they're in my shoebox, but I mean, they're in you someplace. They're in your DNA. And it came out, it blossomed 10 years ago. 10 years later when I found it, that turned into a song, which led me to a career as writing music for television. I wasn't thinking that when I was 16 years old. I didn't even know you could write music for television.
Right.
So when I say leverage, you've got stuff. Everybody has inventory,
Yes. And it's something that people may not know about you, Bill. You've been a professional musician all your life. That's what you've always done. Right. But here you are in LA, and all of a sudden you call me and you said, well, I've been in South America doing a TV show. And I said, oh, were you playing music? Well, no, I was writing the script and producing a TV show with these musicians. And I'm going, well, when did you learn how to produce a TV show? Well, I just did. And you were writing the scripts and you were doing that. And then all of a sudden you called me to do a narration for a movie. And I said, well, what is this? Well, I'm researching and writing this documentary, and I want you to be the voice. Okay. When did you learn how to do that? Lack of knowledge will keep people from trying something that they're really good at. But I believe, and I firmly maintain, that anything that you're interested in, that you want to know, is something that you probably would be really good at if you got the knowledge. How did you learn to go from professional musician to using that to creating a TV show about musicians?
Well, this could take 2 hours, so I'll do my best to rocket through this. But essentially, I was writing music for television for a couple of decades. Because it's our audience who we feel are family, I'll give you a little insight here. About 2012, let's just say I was having a very tough time in my life, emotionally, physically, relationship-wise, spiritually. And I went to have a meeting with this guy from a network. And I was there with a friend of mine, my good friend, Dave Smith, who was at the time an executive at Fox. Now, I'll try to get through this fast, but this is important for the audience to know.
Oh, yeah.
We go to meet with this guy, and the idea was, hey, my buddy Bill, meaning me, I'm going to introduce him to this guy, and I'm going to pitch my music for any supervisors he might know, any music supervisors, which are the people that put the music on television. We go to this big fancy restaurant in Beverly Hills, sit down, we talk for a couple of minutes, and I said, so I have, a catalog of music, and I would love to present it to some of your music supervisors that you work with. And he said, no, we're not going to do that. And I just sat there and stared into the abyss, because my pitch is over. We didn't even order hors d'oeuvres. I'm done, right? As the day went on, the next half hour, he talked about his channel wanted original content. And just for the audience to be clear, if you're watching television and you see the old Dick Van Dyke Show, or you see a Bruce Springsteen concert from 1982, that's footage that already exists, that someone else owns, and you pay them to put on your channel. They wanted to create their own original content that they owned. So I pitched the show, Dave and I pitched the show kind of on the spur of the moment, what if we did a live, recorded live, but instead of in a club or a theater where that's really hard to manage if there's 1,000 people jumping up in front of the cameras, or if the light's bad, or the power is bad. I said, what if we do it in a studio, in a big deal recording studio? And the guy says, well, I don't know anything about recording studios. I said, well, I do. And he said, well, they're too expensive. We could never afford that. I said, no, I have some pretty good contacts. I've been doing this a while. That turned into, essentially, we had that meeting on December 8th, 2012. July 7th, 2013, 7 months later, we were rolling cameras. the show was up and running. That does not happen that fast in real life. This is what I mean by leveraging. I don't know anything about cameras. I don't know anything about running a television show. There's what they actually call a show runner, which is exactly what it sounds like. You run the show. I had no experience. I had no experience writing the scripting. I even wrote some of the theme music, the bumper music, what they call bumper music. You go to commercials and things. I didn't know much about any of that stuff. But at this meeting, which fell apart in 30 seconds because I was only there to ask them about music supervisors.
The one track.
That went down that went down,
Mm-hmm.
that was down the drain. I leveraged what I had. And he said, well, I don't know any musicians. I said, I know them. Well, I don't know about studios. Well, I do. Well, I could never get I'm not going to be a network guy and call a studio and ask for a bargain because they're going to assume that we have tons of money. No, I can handle that. Well, what about a little bit of the publishing stuff? I don't know about that. I said, no, I know how to deal with that. If I write the music, you don't have to worry about publishing. It's my music that's part of the package. I leveraged every single thing I had, not money. No, I didn't go into debt doing this. I took what I do, what I've done well, and I had to be big and bold.
You went into your talent bank.
And do it,
Yeah, we all have a talent bank.
Absolutely.
We all have a talent bank, every single one of us. And some people are, I said, when you're so good at something, when you go, I don't even know why I'm good at this. I don't know why I can do this, but somehow I know how to do this. I don't understand why, it's like I get social media. I understand it. I love it. I don't know why I do. I shouldn't at my age be even technologically sound enough to do half of the things that I do, but I love it. So therefore we have something that's in our talent bank. If we learn how to do that, we can expand our dreams. We can do something.
I think part of what you have in the bank is your ability to network, because I was actually commissioned to do a documentary a couple of years ago, and it was a documentary about mental health. It was a very serious and heavy topic. I really didn't know much about it. And when it came to narration, I mean, again, I say this with all the love in my heart. Talking to the producers, the executive producers, they said, well, we need a narrator. This is a very heavy topic. And I said, I have the person. I have the only person that I'm ever going to call for narration, and that is Devon O'Day. And I'm not just saying that because you're here, And they said, well, we don't know much about her. I said, oh, that's an easy fix. Go look at her resume and you see what you've done, how long you've been on the air, how many books you've narrated, you've written books, you've had how many shows, you have podcasts. Part of my talent was hooking them up with your talent. And this is what I mean by leveraging. I didn't do the narration. I called the best narrator in the world. I said, I got her. This is a one phone call thing on my part. And
that's another thing, connecting. That is like number 4. We've talked about don't let negative thoughts get in. 2, don't let lack of knowledge stop you from approaching something that you really want to do. 3, leveraging what you've got. And 4, creating your contact bank of people. And an ensemble cast is always more successful than a solo act. Sure. Always. Elizabeth says, leveraging what we know can lead to amazing things. I know nothing about the music business, but I do know about numbers business. I use my knowledge and skills to help a friend in the music world. It works when we're willing to look at life in new ways. And when I say help somebody in the music business, Elizabeth knows how to drive the boat. Because
we need more people like Elizabeth. Yeah.
Because if you really love and appreciate music, but your real gift is saying, I just get all these numbers.
Yeah.
Then the person who is out here in the ethereal world creating and bouncing around, being their, beautiful, glistening self, they can do that. Mm-hmm. Because they've got their team. That's the thing, is that create your circle of talented people that you can call. I got a guy.
Yeah.
That whole phrase, I got a girl, I got a gal, I got somebody. Elizabeth also adds today, we need to be open to what life and the world put in front of us. If we are closed off, we wouldn't notice those old notebooks in the box.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's really, really good. You guys,
I was getting fired up there for a couple of minutes. I heard my voice was going up. I was talking loud. I was into this. I'm gonna have to calm myself down. I realized, yeah, use my trusty pendulum, hypnotize myself. Blood pressure was going up.
Well, now that you brought out your trusty pendulum, I'm really excited because Bill does this hybrid of hypnotherapy with coaching, and I, you don't call yourself a coach, but I do because I can, and I know what you do, and you get people believing in themselves.
And I do use this, by the way. I do use this. I've got about 6 of them. I've got a copper one. I've got a crystal one, and they do work. And thank you for saying that. My kind of the thinking is a hypnotist can be a life coach, but a life coach can't necessarily be a hypnotist.
True.
And the way it works is ego strengthening will always be a huge part of my practice, because people that do great things, you don't realize what goes on behind closed doors. And some of those closed doors are in their head. They don't think they're good enough. They don't think they deserve it. They don't think they can make it to the next level. And that's kind of what I'll say specialize in, if I can use that phrase.
Well, Bill does one-on-ones. You can go on and you can get packages for what he does. But I will tell you that coaching and hypnosis and things like that are very helpful. I have known people that could not get back on a stage for something, and I'm talking big major stars, like big award-winning people, who did something as crazy as read the comments. And then that, I call in golf, they call it the yips.
Yeah.
The yips, where you go, oh my gosh, I really messed up last time. I can't do it. I'm going to hit it to the right. I can't, I've got the yips. Well, that can happen in anything in our life. You help people with something as simple as that, right?
Quite a bit. I actually have helped a few athletes, many actors, a lot of singers, a lot of musicians. And as I always say, much of the time, it's very similar to saying you have a combination lock. It's 3 numbers that unlocks it. You already have 2, but you're not 2/3 of the way there. The lock does not open 2/3 of the way just because you have 2 of the numbers. It's all or nothing, right? When we get that 3rd number and it clicks, it opens you up, and suddenly you're a lot more free than you thought you could ever be.
Whether it is something that is inside, that grief can stop us, life trauma like a divorce or something like that can stop us in our tracks, getting fired, getting downsized, getting aged out. Those things are things that can stop you from moving forward. But those are all things that Bill can help with. And whether it's, and there's simple things too, like stopping smoking. I mean, there are people that, want to stop smoking, and hypnosis has been successful with that, where other things cannot be. Why is that?
There are a couple of reasons. There might be a little background noise here. I apologize if you're hearing something back. The reason that I've had success is the first thing I tell any client for whatever their obstacle is, whether it's smoking or fear of flying or anything. The first thing I say to them is, look, we're not going to the dentist here. We're not pulling teeth. There's nothing to be afraid of. We can actually laugh here. We can have fun. I'm not adding comedy to a serious situation. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about making fun of anything. This does not have to be so heavy. So relax. The second part of it is, you've heard for years about a psychiatrist having a couch, where you lay on the couch, right? In my case, I do it by Zoom like this. I tell people, put on your fuzzy slippers, really put on your pajamas, go to bed, and put in earphones. All I need to see is exactly what I'm looking at here with you, Devon. If I can see your eyes, I see your facial movement, and I can see like your throat so I can check your breathing. When you're relaxed, we're halfway home. Now,
Wow.
there aren't many people that are relaxed when they're sitting in a dentist chair. Even when you go for another therapy, and this has no bearing on the therapist or the therapy itself, but going to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, okay, I get dressed, I get in the car, I'm fighting traffic, I take an elevator, I sit there, I'm sitting there in the waiting room with my imagination running wild, and I'm supposed to sit down and be relaxed in front of this therapist. That's a big ask, right? Yeah. I just sat in traffic, I'm kind of driving myself crazy, and now you're going to sit down and say, so tell me about your childhood. That's rough. I do just the opposite. You are way relaxed before we even start, and it seems to work very well. It just eliminates 50% of the problems.
Which lets you know how big a part stress plays in stopping us. Stress can stop us from anything we want to do. It can stop our joy. It can stop everything. Just getting rid of the stress, or like sucking that down and relaxing, is a big way to getting what we want in life.
Well, yeah. And what you do is you take all that energy that you were investing, and I have to do this, investing in the stress.
Yeah, because we do.
And put it in the other direction. I always tell people, you have a car. If you put it in reverse, you can drive 30 miles an hour in reverse. I don't recommend it. Why not use the same amount of energy, same amount of fuel going forward at 30 miles an hour?
Oh, wow.
Right? Same energy, same cost, same time, same distance, but you're going forward. You can see where you're going.
I love that, and a great way to close our show. If you desire to talk to Bill on a one-on-one, BillCinqueHypnotist.com or bchypno.com. We are here each and every Tuesday at the noon-ish time, Central Standard Time, and of course 10 in the morning if you guys are in California time like Bill.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
And how early do you do? You're an early guy, so you're up really early.
As far as taking on clients,
yeah,
pretty close to 24/7. I guess I haven't done anything yet at 4 a.m, but I've done it at 1 a.m. because I have European clients, and so yeah, anytime.
Well, it works, and you guys, Bill is a master at what he does, and we're so glad that you guys are part of what we do. Elizabeth says, I just love Dreamcasters. Y'all lead such great discussions, and I'm so glad that you said that, Elizabeth. Elizabeth could be a guest on any show I ever do. She's so tied into everything, and just has such great insight. You guys, thank you for being with us. We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Bye.